And our next presentation is from Talana. Michelle Taute is Senior Strategic Sustainability Lead at Talana, an award-winning climate tech company for the built environment. Talana manages the risk interface between energy infrastructure and finance to empower meaningful decarbonisation. The company is currently working on ensuring and financing a 3,000 home retrofit project with a London local authority, which will provide guaranteed day one bill savings for residents. Over to you, Michelle.
Great, thank you so much. Firstly, great to be here discussing such an important issue. As a quick introduction, I'm Michelle, Talana's Senior Strategic Sustainability Lead. As Terry so eloquently said, we're a climate technology company for the built environment. We analyse the risk of underperformance for decarbonisation projects. Our investment grade risk analytics is mapped to the underwriting criteria of an A-rated insurer, enabling us to guarantee project outputs and use that guarantee to raise private finance. In doing so, we get projects to execution. Talana works with a range of providers across the built environment, including registered social landlords and developers for both retrofits and new builds. However, in the interest of time, I'll be focusing on the former today. Over the next 15 minutes, I will be looking at the urgency of retrofits, what meaningful decarbonisation means, why we need a phased approach to net zero, and what this looks like in action with a case study. So, as I'm sure you're all aware, given you're on this webinar, retrofits are vitally important for tackling climate change, alleviating fuel poverty, and improving health and well-being. On the screen, you can see just a few statistics that bring home the importance of decarbonising the built environment. I think this context is vital to come back to throughout the retrofit journey. In other words, why are we retrofitting our homes? Why does it matter? What do we need retrofits to speak to? Namely, creating a meaningful impact on reducing our carbon emissions, lowering the cost of energy bills, and improving health. And it's this that Talana enables by getting projects to execution in a scalable and standardised manner. So, how do we do this? Talana standardises the route from engineering projects to finance, and there are 3 elements to the way we do this. Firstly, we have a software platform called Kestrel that understands what types of retrofits are technically and financially feasible at both a whole portfolio and single home view. Kestrel takes existing building data, be that stock condition surveys, EPC, RDSAP, creates a digital twin using that data, overlays it with retrofit scenarios, and then quantifies those scenario outputs. For example, carbon and energy bill savings and payback time. It then runs risk analytics on these interventions. This risk analytics quantifies the likelihood and magnitude of underperformance for a given project. And this analysis is linked to the underwriting criteria of an insurance policy called energy savings insurance. This is the second part of enabling meaningful action. Software-driven insurance, which bridges the confidence gap facing large-scale works. Energy savings insurance guarantees the outputs predicted by our platform. So, should a savings shortfall occur, the insurance will pay the difference between the predicted savings and the delivered reality. This standardizes the risk profile and provides confidence in project success to 3 key stakeholders: landlords, residents, and funders. This is ultimately what enables large-scale capital to enter into the space. And as I'm sure everyone on this webinar is aware, a perception about lack of finance availability is a huge barrier to projects. By guaranteeing project outputs in kilowatt hours and their translation to pounds, we place a financial contract against the project savings. In other words, we make the outputs tangible for funders. And it's this that unlocks private finance. Up to 70% loan to cost of a project can be raised against these guaranteed savings cash flows, giving landlords financial headroom to make meaningful decarbonisation executable. And these energy savings are both the mechanism to raise private finance and to repay it, while ensuring that a percentage remain with residents from day one. This policy also unlocks off-balance sheet treatment by enabling a project vehicle to be set up and manage the project. In other words, manage the contracting, the installation, the operation and maintenance without a fund guarantee. Now, this is important because most landlords have already raised as much money as they can against the value of their buildings. So from an accounting perspective, they cannot take any more on their balance sheet, as otherwise they will be in breach of their loan terms. By setting up a project vehicle and ensuring it's off balance sheet, landlords can execute more ambitious projects than they otherwise would have been able to. At the heart of what we do is use software-led risk analytics to provide confidence to stakeholders across the value chain. Let's take a deeper look at what this means. So far, we've discussed how we make retrofits executable. But how does this deliver value? And this links back to that first slide about why we need retrofits. The graphic on the right is a good way of understanding what the impact is for residents and landlords using Talana's model. Firstly, it's important to note that residents are already paying the price of energy inefficiency through higher energy bills. And lack of action and lack of execution on decarbonisation projects is only going to leave residents with overinflated bills and exposure to greater market volatility. So we use this as the premise of raising private finance and getting projects to pay for themselves. In other words, using the energy bill savings to pay for the projects. From day one, all project savings are guaranteed, as you can see in that graphic. We use a shared savings model to ensure that a percentage of the savings stay with residents and a percentage pay for the works. Talana can leave anywhere between 10 to 50% of the energy bill savings with residents from day one. The level of savings left with residents are dependent on a landlord's equity contribution as well as the payback time. So the impact of this model is residents get guaranteed day one savings, we mitigate against fuel poverty, and residents get healthier, more comfortable homes. From the perspective of landlords, they can actually execute on their projects with up to 70% loan to cost funded by private finance, projects being structured off balance sheet, which is important given their existing borrowing commitments. Projects pay for themselves using their energy savings, and repair and replacement costs of underperforming technology assets are externalized thanks to the insurance policy, energy savings insurance, which covers savings shortfall, defect and damage, and contingent property damage. Now, this is all very well, but we need to ensure that other pieces of the retrofit value chain are ready to deliver meaningful works. And this comes back to why we need retrofits, who we're doing them for, and why they matter. So let's look at the current context. Firstly, the supply chain capacity for certain measures is simply not there to deliver at the required scale. Secondly, certain technologies have poor payback times due to the newness penalty. While these costs will come down over time, they're currently not economically viable for landlords or for residents. Thirdly, if the purpose is to support residents and lower their energy bills from day ones, under a shared saving model, which is how you leave a percentage with residents and use a percentage to repay the capital costs, you need an accurate baseline for fabric works. In other words, you need to very clearly understand what the energy consumption is pre and post retrofit. Funders simply will not fund under a shared savings model unless there has been in-depth metering and monitoring of energy usage in a home, which is difficult to get buy-in. This is also a major contractual reference point. And of course, as all this market context is happening, resident need is increasing. So, as a result of everything I've just discussed, a phased net zero journey is needed. Solar First delivers immediate resident savings, as funders are comfortable supporting a shared savings model for generation, as solar generation is a known quantity, unlike energy consumption, which is harder to get a baseline for and impossible to do without metering and monitoring. At the same time, the supply chain is already geared for solar and storage first. The third element of this is that when solar panels and batteries are installed, metering and monitoring happens at the same time, giving a very accurate baseline for a second phase of heat pumps and fabric works. Essentially, this model is about ensuring the greatest impact now as the supply chain and funders are ready, with the least disruption to residents. Of course, we ensure and we make sure that this is just phase one of a longer net zero journey. So, how do we get there? How do we get to phase 1, 2, and beyond? Firstly, Taute works with a range of providers and partners across the value chain to support landlords as they best want. We're technology and partner agnostic. Our partnership with Cero is a case in point of how we support landlords in delivering an end-to-end retrofit solution. We start from desktop-led strategic decision-making before progressing through the different stages of project development. For example, business case generation, refinement. Once a project's been narrowed down, selective surveys to verify the business case, commit to proceeding on finance, insurance, and then all the way through contracting and post-contracting, helping with procurement, metering, monitoring, and resident engagement. This idea of an end-to-end solution is incredibly powerful, as there's enormous complexity happening across the retrofit journey. There are lots of different trades involved, different people, and lots of different decision points. But through a partnership, we can consolidate and streamline this process. And it's this that Taute does with its partners. Landlords just need to deal with us and our partner. All the other parts of the value chain, the landlords can be as involved in bringing them into a project as they want. And landlords have complete visibility throughout the entire process. A key element of engaging on retrofits is ensuring there's a billing platform. Our partner Cero has an Ofgem accredited billing platform that enables the recovery of the energy bill savings. The savings, as we've discussed, are used to raise and repay private finance. On the right, you can see how the billing platform fits in and how Taute engages with landlords. The way it works is that landlords sign an energy service agreement with a project vehicle. A project vehicle is a company created to run a given optimization project. They take on project risk and they facilitate off-balance sheet treatment for landlords. The project vehicle is created and managed by Taute, with the landlords having full visibility into this entity. Crucially, it enables as-a-service delivery, operation and maintenance, undertakes procurement, and takes steer from the landlords. So the energy service agreement is the only part of this journey that is subject to public procurement. The rest is managed through the project vehicle with guidance from the landlord. From the resident perspective, they sign up to cheaper energy bills through Cero's billing platform. The savings cash flows are then passed on to the project vehicle to repay the private finance. Let's have a look what this looks like for residents. In round numbers, this is what a resident will see. Their bill was previously £2,500. as a result of the works, it's now 2,300. In other words, residents very clearly see a day one reduction. And the whole point of this billing platform is to simplify lives for residents. They can very clearly see their energy consumption, so what they're using from a utility provider, and then what their solar share charge is. And it's this share charge that is repaying the private finance. But a billing platform, it doesn't just collect the savings and pass it on to the project vehicle. And it doesn't just bill the tenant for their energy usage and for the solar share charge. It also gives them access to preferential tariffs and manages that residual grid exposure through those tariffs. It can also support a socializing of the benefits. So, for example, not all homes will be suitable for solar panels. However, they will be suitable for batteries. Provided a home has one of those technologies, they can all share in the revenue generated from solar and storage. So, for example, the flex rate or other elements of a VPP model. In other words, maximizing resident benefits at every stage. So I'll end on a case study to bring together everything we've discussed. As Terry mentioned, Taulana is currently working with a local authority on retrofitting 3,000 homes. When we started our engagement, we were told that they had a priority batch of 10,000 homes that they wanted to look at, and they had certain works in mind that they wanted to do, including extensive fabric, PV, double glazing, heat pumps, battery, ventilation, among others. And we found that from a financing perspective and a logistics perspective, it simply wasn't viable. So our AI platform looked at various ways we could make the business case work across 10,000 properties. And we found that solar and storage first was the way forward. This 10,000 batch of priority homes has been since broken down into smaller groups, with the first one being this 3,000 home project. This project will have huge benefits for residents, the landlord, and for the planet. Emissions on buildings will be reduced by around 20%. Residents will get around £150 off their bills a year. And at the same time, by facilitating access to private finance, we're enabling this landlord to take a 12.5 million project to a 27.5 million project, meaning they can help more of their residents and crucially reach scale. This project is in the final stages of legal due diligence, and hopefully we'll be updating you all soon. So to wrap up, decarbonising the built environment has huge positive environmental, social, and economic implications. But for this to be delivered, it needs to be done in a scalable and standardised way that resonates with funders, landlords, and residents. At Taulana, we see this being achieved through software-led risk analytics, insurance, and finance, showing people available decarbonisation possibilities, connecting this to energy savings insurance, and using insurance to raise private finance. Only by providing this holistic view and connecting people across the value chain can we deliver retrofit at scale. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you. We have a few questions. We have time for a few questions now, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
The first one we have is, how does resident engagement and opt-in to the project work?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So as I mentioned, Taulana partners with a range of providers across the value chain, one of them being Cero. Now, Cero have developed a great resident engagement program And the way it works is they work with landlords, existing resident engagement teams, to support them in connecting with their residents. So the engagement is led by existing resident engagement teams, but supported by Cero with resources and all the tools needed to help residents understand in a very simple way what a project is, how it will benefit them, what the lived impact will be. They've experienced great uptake, and that engagement doesn't stop once residents have opted in. It's throughout the project's life cycle. It's, helping a resident when something's gone wrong, ensuring they understand what their bills are, and continually connecting with them. And it's this that Cero enables. To date, Cero have issued thousands of bills to residents for their energy usage. They've had no switching and no cases of bad debt. So clearly they're doing something right.
Okay, thanks very much. Second question is, what exactly does the insurance do?
Sure. So there are 3 elements to the insurance policy. Firstly, it covers savings shortfall. So this means if there is a difference between the predicted project energy savings and the delivered savings, the insurance will cover the difference. The second element is defect and breakdown cover. So if a solar panel or battery isn't performing as well as would be expected, the insurance will pay for that asset to be repaired or replaced, whichever is more appropriate. And the third element is contingent property damage. So that means if a property is damaged and impacts the energy savings and the landlord's policy, the landlord's property insurance doesn't pick up that cost. This insurance policy will do. And what that means is it wraps a project in an insurance policy so that funders can get behind it. Funders, residents and landlords can get behind it and feel comfortable that what's been predicted will actually be what's delivered.
Okay, thank you very much. And in the time we've got available, as usual, if you have other questions, by all means, pass them on to us, or you can direct them directly to Talana. But in the time we have available, one last question. Is this classified as a service charge?
No, it's not classified as a service charge. So because the project is managed by a project vehicle, it's not classified as a service charge.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Okay, so we need to wrap up now. Thank you, Michelle, for that very interesting and informative presentation. Clearly, funding risk is a key barrier to scaling up and accelerating retrofit, and innovative solutions like this are clearly going to be much needed. So thank you for that. And thank you also to everyone who has attended this webinar and other previous webinars in our innovation series. And we look forward to seeing you again in due course. Thank you.
Thanks.